are a fucking death trap. There's two reasons I think why tanks are no longer as hot as they used to be. One is because when you're doing a counterinsurgency action in a fucking city, you're cooked. So this guy is the OG. Do you see the Nick Adamant stop? It's about how much money you can waste. It's about how much money your enemy has at its disposal. And if a shitty ass drone can just destroy a tank, it's over. It's done. Especially because they're readily available, accessible. You can use it from afar. So that's the way I see it. Huge oversimplification, to be honest. They've been used differently, but still crucially important in Ukraine. I guess the only utility for tanks in Ukraine is that it's like out and about open fields and you can still ride it. Whereas like in terms of counterinsurgency tanks, you can get flanked from multiple locations. There's no way that you would be able to protect the tank at that point. And then boom, the moment that you drop any sort of munition on the tank successfully, it turns into a fucking expensive coffin that blocks your troops from moving further. And then even in the open field, tanks are still vulnerable because there is a, for an incredibly cheap, incredibly affordable anti-tank measure, you got drones. So in places where there's no cover, where tanks can technically thrive, I guess, they're still cooked by the drones. In places where there is cover, tanks have a hard time mobilizing. That's why they need mobile, like they need like infantry to support the tank, but how are you going to do that in a fucking city? Of course, a community of tankies would tell me how wrong I am, but
let's end this thing. You can't end things without communicating with both sides, understanding what each of them need, and then trying to bring them together. And that's what we're doing.
Yeah, and we certainly hope that there's great progress in those talks this week, getting to this point and now moving forward. But I want to make sure while we have you that we ask about the Middle East, where I know you've poured your heart into those negotiations as well. Clearly, the ceasefire is broken there. I know that you said Hamas has been unreasonable in trying to respond to another round of the next phase of a ceasefire. Where do we go from here? What are the odds you get them back to the table and get these hostages home?
Well, I certainly hope we get everybody back to the table and get the hostages home. I was in Doha. I met.
Bro, this guy went from, I'm going to tell you what's what. I'm Steve Witkoff, to doing one visit to Israel and watching whatever like Israel October 7 propaganda they fucking showed him. And now my goat cough is lame cough. He went from Steve Goat Cough to Steve fucking Lame Cough, where he's just like, you don't understand. Hamas, they're barbaric. They're fucking monsters. They're monsters. They're monsters over and over again. It's crazy. Yeah. Here, 2 months ago, Witkoff began from a position of relative objectivity, still very pro-Israel, which was producing results. He was then sent into the re-education camp process by Israel and the U.S. lobby. He saw what happened with Baylor. Now he's becoming Blinken in a more expensive suit. Like, that's crazy. He went from, we're going to tell him what's what. We're America, goddammit. Yeah, he went from Steve Goat Cough to Throat Cough. It's crazy. What did they do? They cloned him. They cloned my man. Bring Steve back. Bring Steve back. This is not the real Steve. Hashtag not my Shayla. Hashtag not my Steve. Okay? This motherfucker was like, I want to go and see Gaza with my own two eyes. Nope. None of that happened.
With many of the Arab leaders at the Arab Summit, I thought we had a deal, an acceptable deal. I even thought we had an approval from Hamas. Maybe that's just me getting duped. But I thought we were there, and evidently we weren't. So this is on Hamas. The United States stands.
Like, that's so. This is a lie. He's just doing Anthony Blinken. It's crazy because like he's doing Anthony Blinken, and he already produced results when he wasn't doing Anthony Blinken. You know what I mean? Like, it's so funny how the Trump administration came in and we're like, yeah, hell yeah, we're fucking, hell yeah, we're the kings here. We're the king of the castle. Like, we're going to change how American foreign policy is conducted. Instantly fucking bomb Yemen, just like Joe Biden did. Didn't work. Immediately get duped by the Israeli side and then have to start doing Israeli propaganda again.
With the state of Israel, there's just that's a 100% commitment, and we've expressed that. Hamas had every opportunity to demilitarize, to accept the bridging proposal that would have given us a 40 or 50-day ceasefire where we could have discussed demilitarization and a final truce. There were all kinds of opportunities to do that, and they elected not to. And this becomes the alternative. And it is unfortunate. Do I think would we?
It's ridiculous. It's the same exact lie that Anthony Blinken and Joe Biden told. Now, of course, because it's Steve Gotkoff saying it, put some respect on it. Obviously, dumb American lovers of MAGA and Donald Trump are going to believe it. But yeah, very stupid situation.
Be amenable to a reach out from Hamas? Of course we would be. No different than in the Russian conflict. We want to end the killing. But we need to be clear who the aggressor is here.
I feel like my goat had some beautiful properties aligned in Doha. I don't know what happened. The Israelis were like, no, you don't understand. Tel Aviv, we'll give you real estate in Tel Aviv. You know? He changed his tune real quick.
And that is Hamas.
Well, and quickly, I want to ask you before you go about Iran. The president has sent a letter to the supreme leader there, giving a timetable for negotiations over their nuke program. 2 months. What happens if...
So let me share with you exactly what I mean. Because when they like to call us radical, and what they like to call me is radical, I believe it's common